She's poisoning your daughter. Your wife, Isabella. She's been putting it in Sophia's food for months. If you don't stop her tonight, that little girl won't live to see morning." The silver tray hit the marble floor like a gunshot. Maria, the old maid, crumbled to her knees in front of Marco Benadetti, the most feared mafia boss in 3 cities, the man who had buried enemies without blinking. And for the first time in 47 years, Marco felt his own hand begin to shake. Before this story breaks your heart, please subscribe to the channel, stay with me all the way to the end, and comment the city you're watching from, so I can see how far this story has traveled around the world tonight. "Say that again, Maria." The old woman couldn't lift her head. Her shoulders were heaving. 11 years she had served in this house. 11 years Marco Benadetti had watched her braid his daughter's hair, hum to her at bath time, kiss the crown of her head before bed. And now Maria, 63 years old, solid as a church pew, a woman who had not cried when her own brother died, was breaking apart on his dining room floor. "Maria, look at me." "I can't, boss." "Look at me." She raised her chin. Her eyes were red, wet, and something inside Marco's chest went very cold because Maria did not lie. Maria had never lied. Maria was the one person in this house he had trusted without even knowing he trusted her. "Tell me every word, slowly." The Mrs. Isabella. She puts a powder in the little one's food, white, fine like sugar. "But it isn't sugar, boss, because I tasted it with the tip of my finger and my tongue. My tongue went numb for a whole minute. I've seen her do it 3 times this week. 3 times, in the oatmeal, in the orange juice, in the warm milk she gives Sophia before bed." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." "Maria, listen to me. You understand what happens if you're wrong about this." "I know what happens in this house, boss." "Do you?" "Yes." "I know what you do to people who lie to you. I'm an old woman. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of that little girl dying, and that's why I'm on my knees." Marco closed his eyes, and the image came up behind his eyelids, whether he wanted it or not. Sophia. 8 years old. Dark curls like her real mother, buried 3 years ago in the hills outside the city. The same serious little mouth. Sophia pale for months. Sophia who had stopped finishing her plate. Sophia whose tiny wrists had started to look like something a grown man could snap with 2 fingers. Sophia who he had carried from doctor to doctor. 3, 4, 5 doctors. 6. And every single one had looked him in the eye and said the same thing. "Growing pains, Mr. Benadetti. Stress. Children go through phases. Give it time. Give it time." Marco's eyes opened and the room had gone red at the edges. "Where is she, Maria?" "The missus, yes." "Out. She left an hour ago. She said the salon. She said she'd be home for dinner." "And Sophia?" "Sleeping. She was too tired to play today. She couldn't even finish her breakfast, boss." "Her breakfast that Isabella made." Maria nodded, hard, once. Marco reached down. He couldn't offer her his hand was still shaking, so he got his arm under her elbow and lifted her to her feet like she weighed nothing. 63 years old and she was trembling like a child left out in the snow. "Maria, I am going to ask you one more time, and I want you to think carefully before you answer." "Yes, boss." "If this is a lie, if Isabella spoke to you cruelly, if she hurt your pride, if there is any reason in the world you would say this thing to me that isn't true, you tell me now, and I will forget this conversation ever happened. No one will touch you." "I am not lying, boss." "Maria, I swear on my dead mother's grave. I swear on the heads of my own children. I love that little girl like she came from my body. I would die in her place tonight if God would let me." And that was the sentence that broke Marco Benadetti in half. Right there in his own dining room on a Tuesday afternoon in October. Because he believed her. He believed her completely. "Show me," he said. "Show me what she uses." Maria turned toward the kitchen without a word. Marco followed her, and every step he took, the floor seemed to tilt a little more. He put one hand against the wall to steady himself. The wall felt like it was moving too. In the kitchen, Maria went straight to the pantry. She moved aside a box of pasta, a tin of olive oil, a small jar of honey half empty, and there behind everything, tucked flat against the back wall, was a small glass vial. No label. White powder inside so fine it looked like it was alive, like it was breathing. Marco picked it up. The glass was cold. "How long?" 4 months, boss. Maybe 5. I started noticing in the summer. At first, I thought it was a vitamin, some medicine I didn't know about. Then the little one started getting sick, and the sickness kept getting worse, and the missus kept giving her more. Boss, I should have come to you sooner. I should have. I'm so sorry. Why didn't you? I was afraid. I was afraid she'd hurt me. I was afraid you wouldn't believe me. I was afraid that if I was wrong, you'd. Why did you come today, Maria? Because today she doubled it. Marco's hand closed around the vial so tightly the glass creaked against his palm. Say that again. I watched her, boss. I was supposed to be in the laundry, but I came back for a rag, and I saw her standing at the stove, and she had the vial in her hand, and this time she didn't just tap it, she poured. She poured twice. Twice, boss. Into the soup that was going to be Sophia's lunch. And then she looked up, and she saw me in the doorway. What did she do? She smiled at me, boss. What? She smiled, like we were old friends sharing a joke. And she said, Maria, be a dear, and call Sophia down for lunch. Marco set the vial down on the counter, very carefully, because if he kept holding it, he was going to crush it, and he needed it whole. He needed it for what was coming. And what did you do, Maria? I threw the soup down the sink. Every drop. I told the missus that Sophia was sleeping. I told her the little one had a stomach ache and wouldn't eat. And she looked at me for a long, long time, boss. And then she said, and I'll remember her voice until the day I die, she said, well then, we'll just have to try again at dinner. The kitchen was so quiet Marco could hear the refrigerator humming. He could hear the clock in the hallway. He could hear his own heart, slow and heavy, pounding against the inside of his ribs, like a man trying to kick down a door. She knows, you know, he said. Yes, boss. Then she'll come for you next. Yes, boss. Maria, listen to me. Get your coat, get your purse, walk out the front door. Don't stop to pack. Don't stop to say goodbye to Sophia. You go straight to your sister's house in Queens, and you stay there until I call. Boss, please, Sophia. I will take care of Sophia. I swear to you on my own life. I swear to you on every soul in this family. I will take care of my daughter, but I cannot do what needs to be done tonight if I am worrying about you too. Please, Maria, go. She stared at him for a long second. Her mouth trembled. Then she nodded. There's something else, boss. What? The missus, for the last 2 months, she's been on the phone late at night. When she thinks the house is asleep, she goes out into the garden. So, she speaks in Spanish, boss. Marco went very still. Spanish? Yes, boss. Maria, my wife doesn't speak Spanish. I know what you think, boss, but she does. She speaks it fast. She speaks it clean. And she doesn't speak it like a woman chatting with a friend. She speaks it the way a soldier speaks to a captain. Short, clipped, like she's giving a report. Something cold slid down Marco's spine vertebra by vertebra. 3 years ago, their first date, Isabella had smiled at him across a candle-lit table and told him her family was Italian, Calabrian, her grandmother from a village outside Reggio. She had cooked him her grandmother's ragu on their second date. She had told him stories about olive harvests and church bells and summers on the Ionian coast. In 3 years of marriage, Isabella Benedetti had not spoken one single word of Spanish in front of him. Not one. Go, Maria, use the back. The garden gate, don't take the car. Yes, boss. And Maria, yes. Thank you for my daughter's life. Thank you. The old woman burst into tears again, silent this time, and then she was out the back door and gone. Marco stood alone in his kitchen with a vial of white powder in his hand and his entire life sliding out from underneath him like wet sand. He went upstairs. He did not run. If he ran, he would scare her. And he could not scare her, not when her small heart was already working too hard to pump poison out of her blood. He opened her bedroom door without a sound. Sophia was asleep on her side, thumb half in her mouth, the way she had slept since she was a baby in a crib. And for the first time, really for the first time in the full afternoon light, Marco looked at his daughter the way a stranger might have looked at her. Her skin was gray. Her lips had almost no color. The shadows under her eyes were so dark they looked painted on. The comforter barely rose over her shoulder because there was barely any shoulder left under it. My God, Marco thought. My God, how did I not see it? How did I look at this child every single day and not see it? He knelt beside the bed. He did not touch her. Papa, I'm here, baby. I don't feel good. I know, sweetheart. I threw up at breakfast. I know. Mama gave me medicine after. Marco's jaw locked so hard a muscle in his neck jumped and held. What kind of medicine, baby? The white kind. She puts it in my milk. She says it makes my tummy better. Does it? Sophia's eyes half opened. They were glassy, too bright, like a doll's eyes. No, Papa. It makes it hurt more. But Mama says that means it's working. Marco could not speak for a full 5 seconds. He just knelt there holding his breath because if he opened his mouth right now, the sound that was going to come out of him was not a sound a little girl should ever hear. Papa? Yes, baby. I had a dream. Tell Papa your dream. There were butterflies, a whole big jar of them, hundreds. And I opened the jar and they all flew away. They flew and they flew and they didn't stop. Her small hand crept out from under the blanket and found his. Is that a good dream, Papa? Marco Benadeti, the boss of the Benedetti family, the man whose name made grown men go white, at the mention of it pressed his daughter's hand against his mouth and kissed it so he would not start screaming. That's the best dream anybody ever had, baby girl. That is the best dream in the whole world. She smiled and drifted back under. Marco stayed on his knees for a long, long time. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket. He looked down. Isabella, 4:17 p.m. Coming home early. Amore, missed you. He stared at the screen until the words stopped making sense. Coming home early. She knew. She had to know. Maria had thrown out the soup, and Isabella had smiled at Maria in the kitchen doorway, and Isabella was not a stupid woman. Isabella, Marco was beginning to understand, was not stupid at all. Isabella had been the smartest person in this house for 3 years, and he had not caught one single cent of it. How long had she been planning this? He forced himself to think. Because a man who panics dies, and Marco Benedetti had not survived 47 years in his line of work by panicking. 3 years ago, the charity gala at the Pierre Hotel, a woman had bumped into him in the hallway outside the ballroom, spilled her champagne down the front of his jacket, laughed, apologized, insisted on paying for the dry cleaning. She had given him her number written on the back of a business card with her lipstick print next to it, taken him to dinner the next Friday. 6 months after that, she was wearing his mother's wedding ring on her hand. Marco had been a widower for exactly 8 months when she bumped into him. 8 months, a woman half his age who looked like she had walked out of a magazine, who spoke 4 languages, and now it turned out a 5th, had just happened to collide with a grieving Mafia boss 3 weeks after his wife went in the ground. And he, Marco Benedetti, the man who taught his own soldiers to trust nobody, not even their own mothers, had believed it was luck. He stood up. His knees cracked. His hand had stopped shaking, and that was worse somehow, because the hand that was no longer shaking was the hand that was about to end this, the hand that was already without him telling it to opening the drawer of his daughter's dresser, feeling behind her folded sweaters, and closing around the grip of the small black pistol he kept there for emergencies. He had never in his worst nightmares thought would walk through his own front door. The phone buzzed again. Isabella, 4:19 p.m. I picked up that wine you love. The Barolo, dinner at 7. Just the 3 of us. I want tonight to be special. Marco read it twice. Just the 3 of us. I want tonight to be special. 7 o'clock, the double dose. The smile at Maria. We'll just have to try again at dinner. She was going to kill his daughter tonight. At a table set for 3 with a glass of Barolo in her hand and a smile on her lips, his wife was going to finish what she had started 4 months ago. And Marco knew it, the way a hunter knows the wounded animal has just turned around to fight him, that Sophia was not the only name on Isabella's list. Because a child's inheritance goes to her father, and a father's inheritance goes to his wife, and whoever had sent Isabella into the Pierre Hotel 3 years ago, with a rehearsed laugh and a glass of champagne, had not paid her to murder an 8-year-old girl. They had paid her to erase a name, the Benedetti name. The phone buzzed a 3rd time, Isabella, 4:21 p.m. And my love, I have the most wonderful surprise for you tonight. You're going to be so happy, Serx. Marco looked at the words. He looked at his sleeping daughter. He looked at the pistol in his other hand. And very slowly, with a steadiness that frightened even him, Marco Benedetti began to type. Can't wait, Bella. 7 o'clock. I'll open the Barolo myself. Send. He slid the phone into his pocket. He slid the pistol into the small of his back. And he walked out of his daughter's bedroom without making a sound. 2 hours and 39 minutes. That was how long he had before his wife walked back through the front door to murder his child. And for the first time since Maria had dropped to her knees in front of him, Marco Benadetti was not shaking. He was calm. He was calm the way the ocean is calm right before the thing underneath it comes up. He went down the stairs one step at a time. And with every step, a voice in his head, his dead father's voice, 17 years in the grave, still the loudest voice he had ever known, said the same 3 words to him. Over and over, the way his father used to say them when Marco was a boy on a kitchen stool watching the old man clean a gun at this same dining room table. Smile, pour, wait. Smile, pour, wait. Smile, pour, wait. Marco reached the bottom of the stairs. He walked into the dining room where Maria's spilled juice had already started to dry. He took a clean white cloth from the sideboard. He got down on his hands and knees in his $3,000 suit, and he wiped his own dining room floor clean inch by inch until there was not one single sign that anything had ever been spilled there at all. Then he stood up, he straightened his tie, and he walked into his study to wait for his wife. Marco sat down at his desk and did not move for a full minute. Then he picked up the phone. Not his cell phone, the other phone, the landline in the bottom drawer, the one that only 3 men in the world had the number for and 2 of them were dead. He dialed. It rang twice. Boss, Tommy, get here, back gate, 15 minutes, come alone. Something wrong. Tommy? Yes, boss. Come alone. He hung up. Then he sat very still, staring at the wall. Because if he moved, if he so much as flexed a finger, he was going to stand up and walk upstairs and put the barrel of that pistol in the glass of Barolo, waiting for his wife, and pull the trigger into it until the bottle was full of lead and gunpowder. He couldn't do that, not yet, because a dead Isabella couldn't tell him who sent her, and a dead Isabella couldn't tell him how many more of them there were. His hand went to his jacket pocket. The vial was there, cold, heavy, smaller than it should have been for something that had been eating his daughter alive for 4 months. 4 months. He tried to think back. He tried to put dates on Sophia's decline. June, her ballet recital. She had made it through the whole thing, but afterward in the car, she had said her legs felt like they were full of water. He had laughed. He had told her she danced so hard, her legs forgot how to be legs. He had stopped at the ice cream place on 5th and bought her 2 scoops of strawberry, and she had eaten half of one and handed him the rest. I'm not hungry, Papa. He had kissed her forehead and told her it was okay. July, the pool at the club. She wouldn't go in. She said the water looked too cold, even though it was 96 degrees outside, and Marco had watched her sit on the edge with her feet in the water and her shoulders hunched up like an old woman's, and he had thought, she's just shy, she's growing up, she doesn't want the boys to see her in a bathing suit yet. August, the first headache. She had come into his study crying, holding her head with both hands, and Isabella had walked in behind her with a glass of warm milk and a soft voice and had said, "Come to Soro, Mama will take care of you." And Marco had let her. He had let her. He dug his nails into his own palm until the skin split. The phone on his desk buzzed. Isabella, 4:34 p.m., caught in traffic in morning. Might be a few minutes late. Tell Sophia Mama's bringing her a surprise. Marco stared at the screen. Tell Sophia Mama's bringing her a surprise. He didn't answer. He couldn't answer. He couldn't trust his own fingers to type something that sounded like a husband and not a man holding a loaded gun under the desk. The doorbell rang. Marco stood up. He walked through the hallway, past the dining room, past the kitchen, and opened the back gate himself. Tommy Ricci stood there in a black jacket, breathing hard, his eyes sharp. Boss, inside. Tommy came inside. Marco closed the gate behind him and locked it. What's going on, boss? You look... Tommy, listen to me very carefully. I'm going to say this one time, okay? My wife has been poisoning my daughter. Tommy Ricci, who had been with the Benadetti family since he was 17 years old, who had watched Marco bury his first wife, who had held Sophia as a newborn, when her own father was too exhausted to stand, Tommy Ricci, a man who did not react to anything, actually rocked back on his heels. What? You heard me? Boss? For 4 months. Maybe 5. Maria caught her. Today she doubled the dose. And then Marco looked at his watch. 2 hours and 4 minutes she is going to walk through that front door with a bottle of wine and a smile and try to finish it at dinner. Tommy's face changed, slowly. The way a man's face changes when he understands that the ground he has been standing on for 20 years has never actually been ground at all. Boss, tell me what you need. I need 3 things. Name them. First, Sophia, she cannot eat anything in this house. Not a crumb, not a sip of water. I need a doctor here, not our usual doctor. A new one, someone clean, someone who owes me and has no reason to talk to anyone. I need her blood drawn tonight, and I need to know exactly what's in it. I know a man, out of Jersey, pediatrician. His brother owes us a favor he hasn't paid yet. I can have him here in an hour. Do it. What else, boss? Second, Isabella. Everything. Her phones, her bank accounts, her emails. Every man she's spoken to in the last 3 years who wasn't me. I want to know who she is, Tommy. Not the woman I married, the real one. I'll put 3 men on it tonight. 3 isn't enough. Put 6. Yes, boss. And Tommy. Yes. She's been making phone calls at night. In the garden, in Spanish. Tommy's head came up. Spanish. Yes. Boss, who still talks to us in Spanish? Marco said nothing. Tommy said it for him. The Mendozas. I don't know yet, Tommy. But I don't know yet. Tommy's jaw worked. Boss, your father put 6 feet of concrete on that whole family 22 years ago. He put 6 feet of concrete on the ones he could find, Tommy. Jesus Christ. Third thing. Yes, boss. Nobody comes in. Nobody goes out. I want 2 of our men on the front gate, 2 on the back, and I want them invisible. She cannot see them. If she sees them, she runs. And if she runs, I lose her. Do you understand? Yes, boss. And Tommy, when she comes home tonight, nothing happens to her. Nothing. She walks in that door the way she always walks in that door. She kisses me on the cheek the way she always kisses me on the cheek. And I sit down at that dinner table across from her and I pour her a glass of her own wine. Because I need her to think for as long as possible that I don't know. Do you understand me? I understand, boss. Good. Now go. Tommy didn't move. Tommy, go. Boss. What? I just want to say one thing. Say it. That little girl upstairs, Sophia, I have known her since she took her first breath. And if you need somebody to pour that wine tonight, boss, if your hand shakes, if you hesitate for even 1 second, you give me the sign. You give me the smallest sign in the world, and I will do it for you. Marco looked at him for a long moment. Thank you, Tommy, but this one's mine. Yes, boss. Tommy left. Marco locked the gate behind him and stood there with his forehead pressed against the cold iron for a second, and for the first time since Maria had opened her mouth, his eyes stung. Not tears. He wouldn't let them be tears. Just sting. Then he straightened up and went back into the house. He went upstairs first. Sophia was still asleep. He sat down on the edge of her bed very carefully, and he watched her breathe. Her chest was so thin he could see her heart moving through the cotton of her nightgown. Quick, fluttery, like a bird that had flown into a window. Just hold on, baby, he whispered. Just a few more hours. Papa's here. Papa's going to fix it. She murmured something in her sleep. He leaned closer. Butterflies. Marco put his hand over his mouth and bit down on his knuckle until the skin broke. He stood up. He walked out of her room. He went into the master bedroom next, the bedroom he shared with Isabella, the bedroom where 3 nights ago she had rolled over in the dark and wrapped her arms around him and whispered, I love you, amore, into the back of his neck, and he had said it back without even opening his eyes. He turned the light on. Her vanity, her perfumes, her silk robes on the hook by the bathroom. The photograph of the 2 of them in Lake Como on their honeymoon framed in silver on the nightstand. Her side of the bed still unmade from that morning. Marco walked to her closet. He opened it. Dresses, coats, rows of shoes, a small safe at the back behind a curtain of evening gowns. He knew the combination. It was her birthday. He had given her the safe himself for the jewelry he bought her because he had wanted her to feel safe in this house. He knelt down and dialed the numbers. The safe opened. Jewelry, yes. The diamond earrings he had given her for their first anniversary. The emerald necklace for her 30th birthday. The pearl bracelet she wore to every funeral they had ever attended together. And at the back behind a velvet pouch, a second phone. Cheap, black, A flip phone from 15 years ago, the kind no one used anymore, the kind you used when you didn't want anyone to find you. Marco's hand closed around it. He flipped it open. Battery dead. Of course. She would only charge it when she needed it. He put it in his pocket. He kept searching. Under the phone, a folded piece of paper. He opened it. A photograph. Old. Grainy. The kind printed from a home computer a long time ago. A family. A big one. Sitting around a long wooden table somewhere outside under strung lights, the way people did at country weddings in summer. 8, 9, 10 people. Men in white shirts, women in bright dresses, children on laps. And at the center of the photograph, a little girl of maybe 7, with dark curls and a serious mouth, sitting on the knee of a broad-shouldered man with a mustache and a cigar and a gold chain around his neck. Marco knew that man. Marco had seen that man's face in a police file once. A long, long time ago. When he was younger, when his own father was still alive, when the old war with the Mendoza family was still warm in the blood. Hector Mendoza, the patriarch, the man his father had personally put a bullet into in the back room of a restaurant in Miami 22 years ago. The man Marco had watched die through a window as a 19-year-old boy on his first real job. Hector Mendoza, with a little girl on his knee. Marco turned the photograph over. On the back in a child's handwriting in pencil, faded but still legible, Mi abuelito y yo. Miami verano. My grandfather and me. Miami summer. The air went out of the room. Marco Benadeti sat on the floor of his wife's closet holding a photograph of his wife as a little girl sitting on the lap of the man his father had killed, and for one long moment he could not breathe. She had been 7 years old in this picture. 7. She had grown up in a house that spoke her name and his name in the same sentence. She had been raised from the time she could hold a spoon to walk into his life one day and end it. 20 years. 25, maybe. They had been building her, polishing her, teaching her to laugh the right way, to tilt her head the right way, to spill a glass of champagne at a charity gala, and apologize in the right voice, and then they had sent her. And he had opened the door. He had opened the door and walked her straight to his own daughter. He folded the photograph very carefully and put it in his jacket pocket next to the vial. Then he closed the safe. Then he stood up and walked out of the bedroom and went back downstairs and sat down at his desk and picked up the landline again and dialed a number he had not dialed in a long, long time. It rang 4 times. Who is this? Uncle Salvatore, it's Marco. A pause. Marco, Madonna, I haven't heard your voice in 3 years. I know, I'm sorry for that. What's wrong? Something is wrong. Uncle, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer me with the truth, even if the truth is ugly. Marco, yes. For your father, I will answer you with any truth you want. Marco closed his eyes. 22 years ago, Miami, the Mendoza thing. Yes. My father killed Hector Mendoza. Yes. And his 2 sons. Yes. And his brother. Yes. Uncle, did anyone survive, anyone in that family, anyone at all? A long, long silence. Marco, why are you asking me this? Uncle, answer me. There was a grandchild, a little girl. She was staying with her mother that week, in a different city. Your father said, he said it was a child. He said no. He said not a child, never a child. So we let her be. That was the only one. That was the only Mendoza we didn't put in the ground. Do you remember her name, Uncle Marco? Do you remember her name? Another long silence. Isabel. Her name was Isabel. Marco opened his eyes. Thank you, Uncle. Marco, wait. Why are you asking me this? Marco, he hung up. He sat very still. Isabel Mendoza, not Isabella Rinaldi from Calabria. Isabel Mendoza from Miami. The granddaughter of the man his own father had murdered in front of him. She had come into his house. She had lain in his bed. She had carried his ring on her finger for 3 years. She had braided his daughter's hair and hummed her lullabies and kissed her goodnight, and every single time she had pressed her lips to that little girl's forehead, she had been saying goodbye. Something was happening to Marco's hands again. Not shaking this time, the opposite of shaking, a kind of stillness that was almost not human, like his whole body had just quietly agreed with itself about what was going to happen next. His cell phone buzzed. Isabella, 5:03 p.m. almost home, love. So excited for tonight. Marco looked at the heart emoji. He put the phone face down on the desk. There was a soft knock at the study door. Come. Tommy Ricci stepped in along with another man behind him, an older man, gray-haired, carrying a leather medical bag. Boss, this is Dr. Vega from Jersey. Doctor? Mr. Benadetti, I understand we don't have much time. She's upstairs, second door on the right. She's asleep. Please don't wake her unless you have to. Yes, sir. Doctor? Yes. If she has what I think she has in her blood, can you help her? Dr. Vega hesitated. Sir, I can't answer that until I see her. But if she's been dosed for 4 months and today's dose was doubled, I'll be honest with you, we need to get ahead of tonight. Whatever your wife is planning for dinner, your daughter cannot be in this house when it happens. Agreed, sir. Can I move her? You can do anything you need to do. The doctor nodded once and went upstairs with his bag. Tommy stayed. Boss, we got something fast from the phone guys. Tell me, the missus, her late night calls, all to the same number. A burner. We can't trace the man on the other end yet, but we traced where the phone was bought. Where, sir? Miami, boss. Marco closed his eyes. Of course it was. Boss Andy, keep going. One more thing. We went through her bank accounts. The joint one looks normal, but she has another one in her maiden name. Isabella Rinaldi. She doesn't have a maiden name of Rinaldi Tommy. What? Keep going. What's in the account? 3 months ago, wire transfer, $600,000, sent from a holding company in Panama. The holding company traces back through 2 shells to a trust. And the trust? Say it. The trust is registered to the estate of Hector Mendoza, deceased. Marco actually laughed. It was a small, awful laugh with no joy in it at all. They paid her. They paid her $600,000 to kill my child. Boss, she took the money 3 months ago, Tommy. 3 months ago, she took the money and she went home and she made Sophia scrambled eggs. Tommy said nothing. Tommy. Yes, boss. How many men can you get to this house in the next hour and a half? 12, 15 if I call Frankie in from Long Island. Call Frankie. Yes, boss. And Tommy. Yes. I want to know who else in my life. Who else? The doctors? Sophia's tutor? The guy who walks the dog? The priest who married us? Somebody helped her get this close. Somebody in my own life held the door open for her. And I want that name before sunrise. Yes, boss. Tommy turned to leave. Tommy? Yes. One more thing. Anything. If something goes wrong tonight, if I don't walk out of that dining room. Boss. Listen to me. Yes. Sophia. Whatever it takes, whoever you have to ask, whatever ocean you have to cross, you get her out of this country. You take her to the one place nobody in this life would ever look for a Benadetti. You give her another name. You let her grow up ordinary. You let her grow up thinking her father was a boring, stupid man who sold insurance. Do you understand me? Tommy's eyes were wet. I understand. Swear it. I swear it on my father's grave, boss, on his grave. Good, now go. Tommy left. Marco sat alone. He picked up the photograph again. Little Isabel Mendoza on her grandfather's knee, 7 years old, smiling. He thought about Sophia, 8 years old, smiling. He thought about how a man could look at the same expression on 2 different faces, and depending on who was behind them, it could mean love or it could mean murder. Marco set the photograph down on his desk. He took the pistol out of the small of his back and set it down next to the photograph. He took the vial out of his jacket and set it down next to the pistol. 3 objects, a picture, a poison, and a gun. A marriage in 3 pieces. The clock in the hallway struck 6. Upstairs, very faintly, he heard Dr. Vega saying something soft to Sophia, and Sophia answering sleepy and small, okay? Yes, that's okay. And Marco held on to that little voice for a long, long second because he did not know yet whether he would hear it again after tonight. Then the gate buzzer rang. Marco looked at the security monitor on his desk. Isabella's car was at the front gate. She was early. She was 36 minutes early. He stared at the monitor. She was sitting in the driver's seat, checking her lipstick in the rearview mirror. She smiled at her own reflection. She fluffed her hair. She reached over to the passenger seat and picked up a bottle wrapped in brown paper, the Barolo, and held it up to the mirror the way a bride holds up a bouquet. Then she pressed the buzzer a second time. Marco picked up the pistol. He slid it into the small of his back. He picked up the vial. He slid it into his jacket pocket. He picked up the photograph. He folded it once, twice, and slid it into the inside pocket over his heart. Then he stood up, walked to the front of the house, took a long breath, and pressed the button to open the gate for his wife. The gate rolled open, and Marco walked to the front door. He had exactly 40 seconds before she reached it. He used the first 10 to check his own face in the hallway mirror. Not for vanity, for tells, for the muscle in his jaw that wanted to twitch, for the vein in his temple that wanted to show, for anything at all that a trained killer like Isabel Mendoza might see and read the way a doctor reads a fever. His face was blank. Good. He used the next 10 seconds to tuck his shirt in where it had come loose, because the husband who had been waiting eagerly for his wife would have straightened his shirt. He used the next 10 to walk to the front door and unlock it. He used the last 10 to arrange his mouth into a smile. The door opened. Amore. Isabella stepped through the door in a cream-colored dress, her hair loose around her shoulders, the bottle of Barolo under one arm, and a small white paper bag in her other hand. She dropped the bag on the entryway table and kissed him full on the mouth. He kissed her back. He kissed her the way he had kissed her 1,000 times, hand at the small of her back, chin tilted just so, because if there was any part of his body that still remembered 3 years of marriage, it was his mouth, and his mouth was going to help him keep her alive long enough to learn who else was out there. "I missed you," she murmured against his lips. "Missed you more." "Liar, you were in meetings all day. You didn't think about me once." "I thought about you on the way to every one of them." She laughed, a soft, warm laugh, completely natural, completely practiced. 25 years of practice. "Where's Sophia?" "Sleeping. She had a rough morning." "Poor baby. Is her stomach still bothering her?" "She said the medicine made it worse." A pause, smaller than a heartbeat, but Marco caught it. A tiny flicker in the corner of her mouth. Not a flinch, just a microscopic recalculation. "She knows Sophia told me something." "Well," Isabella said, her voice warm as bread, "maybe that medicine isn't right for her. We'll try something new tomorrow." "There won't be a tomorrow, Bella." "Maybe," he said, smiling. "Let's talk about it over dinner." About dinner." She held up the Barolo. "I've been looking forward to this all day," and she picked up the white paper bag. "I stopped at that pastry place you love, the lemon tart, for after." "For me, no more." She smiled at him right in the eyes. "For Sophia, I thought I'd bring her a little slice upstairs. She hasn't eaten. She needs something sweet, Pavarina." Marco's whole body went cold under his suit. The lemon tart. Of course, because a sick child might push away soup, might push away milk, might push away anything green, but no 8-year-old on earth pushes away lemon tart from her mama's favorite bakery. "That's sweet of you, Bella," he said. "She's my little girl too, you know." "I know. Here, take it to her." No, you brought it. You take it to her." A pause. Longer this time. "Are you sure I don't want to wake her if she's resting?" "She'd want to see you, Bella. You know she would." Another pause. "All right, let me just freshen up first. 5 minutes." She kissed his cheek, took the bag, and walked upstairs. Marco stood in the foyer. His smile stayed on his face exactly 3 seconds after she disappeared around the landing. Then it fell off like a mask hitting the floor. He moved. He went straight to the dining room, picked up his cell phone, and texted 2 words. Now, upstairs. Tommy was in the house within 12 seconds. He had been in the kitchen, pantry the entire time behind the door with his gun drawn. "Boss." She took the pastry bag upstairs. She said she's going to the bathroom first. She isn't. She's going into Sophia's room. "You want me to?" "Dr. Vega already moved it, Tommy blinked. "Moved her where?" "Maria's old room, the one behind the kitchen. I told Vega an hour ago, whatever Isabella opens that door to find it won't be my daughter." "Jesus, boss." "Go up behind her, quiet. If she does anything with that bag, you take her." "Alive. Alive, Tommy, alive." Tommy nodded and was up the stairs in 6 silent steps. Marco stood alone in the dining room with his hands flat on the table, breathing through his nose. He counted 1, 2, 3. From upstairs, muffled Isabella's footsteps crossing the hall. A door opening. A soft sing-song voice. "Sophia, baby mama brought you something delicious." Silence. A longer silence. A very long silence. Then Isabella's voice again, not sing-song, any more sharper. Faster. Sophia. Sophia, where are you? Marco closed his eyes. And then came her footsteps fast now, back down the hallway. Not running, never running. A woman who had been trained for 25 years did not run. But moving with purpose. She came down the stairs smiling. She's not in her room, amore. Did you move her? I gave her a bath. She was sweaty from the fever. Dr. Vega is with her in the guest bath now. Dr. Vega. Our old doctor retired, Bella. You knew that. Did I? I told you 2 weeks ago. Oh, right. Of course. Her smile didn't waver, not by a hair. Where is she now? In the guest bath, like I said. Can I go see her by... Dr. Vega asked for privacy while he examined her. He'll bring her down for dinner. A beat. For dinner. Yes, Bella. He wants her to eat. He says her color is bad and she needs food in her. Another beat. Smaller. But Marco was watching so hard now that he felt each one like a bell ringing in his chest. Wonderful, Isabella said. Wonderful. I'll set the table for 4 then. For 4. For the doctor, more. Of course, for the doctor. How thoughtful. She walked past him into the dining room. She set the Barolo on the sideboard. She set the white paper bag next to it. She began humming. Marco watched her pull silverware out of the drawer. Fork, knife, spoon, fork, knife, spoon. 4 sets. Her hands were steady. Her humming was soft. Her hips swayed just slightly the way they did when she was happy. And Marco thought, she is an artist. She is a true artist. I have been married for 3 years to one of the most talented human beings alive. Isabella. Sit with me a minute while the doctor finishes. Of course, amore. She sat, across from him, elbows on the table, chin in her hands, looking at him the way she had looked at him 1,000 times, adoring, soft, full of warmth. Tell me about your day, he said. Oh, boring. The salon, lunch with Gianna, shopping for you-know-what. You know what? Your birthday, amore. Marco's birthday was in 4 months. Bella, it's October. I know, but I wanted to start early this year. I want this one to be special. I want tonight to be special. Tell me about your day, Marco. Meetings, phone calls, the usual. Anything interesting? An old friend called. Who? My Uncle Salvatore. The pause this time was the largest yet. Maybe half a second, maybe less. But Marco saw it, and more importantly, Isabella saw that he saw it. Her smile did not change, but somewhere very deep in her eyes a door closed. Quietly, firmly, like the lid of a coffin. Oh, what did Uncle Salvatore want after all this time? Just reminiscing about my father, about the old days. That's lovely. Yes, he reminded me of a story I'd forgotten, from Miami. Years ago. Miami? Yes. Her fingernail began very quietly to tap the side of her coffee cup. Tap, tap, tap. I didn't know your family had business in Miami, amore. It was a long time ago, Bella, before you and I ever met. Oh, yes, my father had a business dispute. It ended badly for the other family. Uncle Salvatore told me something tonight I never knew. He told me there was a child in that family, a little granddaughter. She wasn't there that night. She was staying with her mother in another city. Tap, tap, tap. How fortunate for her, Isabella murmured. Yes, my father spared her. He said never a child. Your father sounds like a good man, amore. He was a complicated man, Bella, but yes, on that he was good. Marco leaned forward. He put his hand over hers on the table. Her hand was ice cold. Bella. Yes, amore. What was the little girl's name, do you think? The tapping stopped. For one perfect, endless second, Isabella Benadetti looked at her husband across the dining room table. And Marco looked at her. And in that second 3 years of marriage, the weddings, the Christmases, the slow Sunday mornings, the whispers in the dark, all of it rolled up into itself and disappeared. And what was left was 2 animals staring at each other across a piece of wood. And Isabella smiled, a different smile, a smile Marco had never seen on her face before. How would I know, Marco? Just curious. Maybe you should ask your Uncle Salvatore. Maybe I will. A small silence. Then Isabella stood up slowly and smoothed the front of her dress. I'll go check on Sophia. Dr. Vega must be finished by now. Sit down, Bella. Amore, sit down. Her eyes flicked to the doorway behind him, to the kitchen, to the hallway, calculating exits. And right then, on perfect cue, Tommy Ricci stepped into the dining room doorway with his jacket open and his hand resting very casually on the grip of the pistol at his hip. Isabella sat down. Amore, she said, and her voice was still sweet, still soft, still the voice of the woman he had fallen asleep next to for 3 years. What is this, Bella, please? Let's not waste each other's time. Marco, I don't understand what's Isabel. Her mouth closed. It was the first time in 3 years he had called her anything other than Isabella or Bella or Amore. He said it again, Isabel Mendoza. She did not move. She did not breathe. Her face did not change. And then slowly, slower than anything Marco had ever seen, Isabel Mendoza leaned back in her chair, crossed her legs, and began very quietly to laugh. A small laugh. A real one. The first real one he had ever heard come out of her mouth. Well, she said, that took you longer than I thought. Marco did not speak. How did you find out? Does it matter? Humor me. A maid with a conscience. Maria. Yes. I should have killed her 3 weeks ago. I almost did. I decided it was too messy. She tilted her head. That's my mistake. Where is the lemon tart, Isabel? Upstairs, in a white paper bag, on the nightstand of a bedroom I assume no longer has your daughter in it. What's in it? Enough to stop a grown man's heart. Never mind an 8-year-old's. She said it the way another woman might say that I stopped at the dry cleaners. Marco felt something inside him crack quietly like ice in a glass of warm water. Why, Isabel? You know why. Say it anyway. Your father. The back room, Miami, August the 4th, 1993, 11:17 at night. My grandfather. My father. My Uncle Javier. My Uncle Rafa. Your father put a bullet into each of them. Her voice was completely calm. I was 7 years old. I was in Orlando with my mother. They told her on the phone. She fell down on the kitchen floor, and she did not get up for 2 weeks. Isabel. My mother killed herself when I was 12, Marco. Did you know that pills, in her bed, she left a note. The note had 4 names on it. Hector, Javier, Rafael, and my father. And underneath those 4 names, she wrote one more name. Isabel's eyes did not blink. Benedetti. Isabel. I was raised by my great uncle in Miami, in Caracas, in Marseille. Your father killed a family, Marco, but he didn't kill a family, because families are bigger than he knew. My great uncle raised me to speak 5 languages, to smile correctly, to cry on command, to walk into a room full of men and make each of them believe I was looking only at him. He spent 20 years on me, Marco, 20 years, because your family took 20 minutes. Marco was silent. Do you want to know what I thought the first time I met you at the Pierre? Tell me. I thought he looks just like his father. Marco felt his jaw tighten. And Sophia? What about her? She didn't kill anyone, Isabel. She's a child. So was I, Marco. She's 8 years old. Ice. My father was 42. My grandfather was 67. My Uncle Rafa was 29. And he had a baby in his wife's belly that never got to be born. Your father did not care about ages, Marco. Why should I? Because you're not him. Oh, Amore. Her smile was almost gentle now, almost sad. I am exactly him. I just took longer. A silence. How much did they pay you? Marco said. Who? Whoever sent you. The trust. The $600,000. Her eyebrows lifted, almost amused. Oh, Marco, you've been busy. That's very good. I'm impressed. How much, Isabel? Nobody paid me, Amore. That was my inheritance, my grandfather's money. The money your father could not find and could not bury. It has been sitting in Panama waiting since I was 7. I used it to fund my own life. I used it to fund you. Do you understand? Your own wife has been paid for 3 years by the ghost of the man your father killed. Marco's hand went under the table, to the grip of the pistol at his back. Don't, Amore. Why not? Because I'm not finished. He stopped. Not finished? No. What aren't you finished with, Isabel? She smiled her real smile again. Not the wife's smile, something older, something that had been waiting for 25 years to come out of her face. Marco, I'm not alone. Who else? You don't ask a question like that and expect an answer. Isabel, who else? Somebody very close to you, Amore. Somebody you sat across from this week. Somebody you would have trusted with Sophia's life tonight if I hadn't gotten to her first. And Amore, that person knows right now at this exact minute that something has gone wrong in this house. Because I was supposed to have sent a text by now, and I haven't. And when the next 15 minutes pass without that text, things begin. In other places, not just here. Marco went very still. What things? Oh, Amore, you'll see. Isabel, what things? Your brother. Marco stopped breathing. My brother is dead, Isabel. Is he, Amore? The room tilted. Antonio is dead. He has been dead for 17 years. Your father told you a lot of things, Marco. He told you never a child. He told you your mother died of cancer. He told you your brother was killed in Sicily. Are you starting to notice a pattern? Marco could not feel his hands. Where is my brother, Isabel? Oh, Amore, I'm not going to tell you that, because that information is the only reason I'm going to be alive in 10 minutes. And you and I are going to sit here, you and Tommy and me, and we are going to have a little conversation about what you are willing to trade to get your brother back alive. Because the person helping me in this house, the person who is very close to you, is currently at this exact moment sitting in a car 3 miles from where your brother has been held for the last 9 years. And if I don't send a certain text in, she glanced at the gold watch on her wrist. 11 minutes, the person in that car walks up to a certain door, opens it, and puts a bullet into a man you have spent half your life mourning. Tommy Ricci, standing in the doorway, whispered, "Boss, Jesus Christ." Marco did not hear him. Marco was not in the room anymore. Marco was 19 years old in Sicily, standing next to an open coffin, looking down at a face that had been so badly burned, no one could have told whose face it was, and his father had put a hand on his shoulder and said, "That's your brother's son. That's Antonio. We bury him in the morning." And Marco had believed him for 17 years. "Amore," Isabel said softly, "you have 10 minutes and 40 seconds. Would you like to start negotiating?" Marco's mouth was dry. "Isabel." "Yes, Amore, if you are lying to me." "I'm not. If you are lying to me about my brother." "Marco, I have had 17 years to learn exactly which lies hurt you the most. Do you really think I would waste one of them now?" He looked at her. He looked at his wife, the woman he had loved, the woman who had lain in his bed and kissed his forehead and laughed at his jokes, and he understood completely, and finally, that she had told him the truth. About all of it. "Tommy," he said. "Yes, boss. Get everyone. Everyone. Every man we have. Every gun. Pull Frankie off the gate. Call the Jersey crew. Call Sal Romano. Call anyone who ever owed my father a favor in the last 30 years. Yes, boss. And Tommy. Yes. Call Uncle Salvatore. Tell him Antonio is alive. Tell him we need him to tell us every single place my father ever owned, ever rented, ever had a key to anywhere in this country, and we need the list in the next 9 minutes." "Yes, boss." Tommy was gone. Marco turned back to his wife. "Isabel." "Yes, Amore. You are going to stay exactly where you are. You are going to keep both hands flat on this table. And if that phone in your purse rings or buzzes or does anything at all, you are going to let Tommy answer it." "Of course, Amore." "And Isabel." "Yes. When this is over and I get my brother back and I get my daughter's blood clean again." "Yes. Do not hope for the easy version of what happens to you next." She smiled at him, that old, almost sad, almost gentle smile. "Oh, Marco," she said softly, "I stopped hoping for the easy version a very long time ago." The clock in the hallway struck the quarter hour. 9 minutes, 21 seconds. And somewhere 3 miles from a door, Marco did not yet know how to find a man he had mourned for 17 years, was sitting in a room, still breathing, with a stranger's gun already being loaded in a car parked just outside. 9 minutes, 21 seconds. Marco stood up from the table. He did not take his eyes off his wife. "Tommy." "Boss." "Her purse, on the chair by the door. Bring it to me." Tommy brought it. Marco set it on the table and opened it himself. Lipstick, keys, wallet, a small silver pill box, and at the bottom a phone. Black, expensive, face down. "Isabel, the code. 4716. "Why are you telling me?" Because the phone isn't the problem, Amor. The text was supposed to come from this phone, yes. But if this phone is taken, if this phone stops responding, the person on the other end is instructed to assume the worst and proceed. So you can hold this phone. You can break it in half. It makes no difference. She smiled. That was my great uncle's design, not mine. He thought of everything. Marco turned the phone over. The screen lit up. 17 unread messages, all from a contact saved as a single letter, J. He opened the thread. The last message sent 3 hours ago read in Spanish. Listo para esta noche, ready for tonight. And under that, Isabel's reply from 3:47 p.m. Todo listo. La cena a las 7. Everything is ready. Dinner at 7. Marco stared at the screen. Isabel. Who is Jay? Amore. Isabel. If I tell you my brother dies. Your brother. Yes, you have a brother. I have a brother, Marco, just like you do, except mine is alive and yours only recently is. Funny how the world works, isn't it? Marco's jaw was locked so tight he could feel his molars grinding. Where is he? In that car, 3 miles from wherever your brother is being kept, with a gun on his lap and a phone in his hand, waiting for my text. And if the text doesn't come in, she glanced at her watch. 8 minutes and 40 seconds, he pulls a trigger. And if I don't arrive at a certain place by midnight alive and healthy, he pulls the same trigger. And Marco, he is my brother. He will do it. He has been waiting as long as I have. Marco put the phone face down on the table. Tommy stepped closer. Boss, Vega is asking for you now. He says it can't wait. Stay with her, Tommy. Don't move. Yes, boss. Marco crossed the dining room in 4 long strides and into the kitchen. Dr. Vega was standing at the counter, sleeves rolled up, hands washed pink. His bag was open. Mr. Benadetti. Fast, doctor. The powder in the vial. I tested it against a kit I carry. It's thallium. English. A heavy metal. Odorless. Tasteless. It was used in rat poison for decades until the government banned it for exactly this reason. It's nearly impossible to detect in food, and it kills slowly. Weeks. Months. Sophia. She's alive, Mr. Benadetti, and I have already given her the antidote, a chelating agent called Prussian blue. It binds the thallium. Her body will flush it out. But, sir. But what? If she had eaten tonight, anything with tonight's dose in it, I don't think she would have seen morning. Marco had to put his hand on the counter. Doctor? Yes. Is she going to live? Yes. Are you sure? Mr. Benadetti, I am as sure as a doctor in this situation can be. Her organs have been stressed. Her kidneys have been working double. But she is 8 years old. 8-year-olds bounce. She will need months of care and careful food, but she will live. Marco closed his eyes just for one breath. Just one. Thank you, doctor. One more thing, sir. Yes. The white paper bag, the lemon tart. Yes. There's enough thallium in that pastry to kill 3 grown men, not an 8-year-old. 3 grown men. She wasn't trying to be careful tonight. She was trying to be certain. Marco did not answer. He turned and walked back into the dining room. Isabel was exactly where he had left her, hands flat on the table, shoulders relaxed. She might have been waiting for the soup course. Tommy's phone buzzed. He looked at it. Boss, it's Uncle Salvatore. Put him on speaker. Tommy put the phone on the table. Salvatore. Marco, Madonna. Tommy just told me, is it true about Antonio? I don't know yet, Uncle, but I am going to assume it is. Marco, if my brother lied to me about this, if your father lied to me. Uncle, the list. You were going to make me a list. I have it. 11 places. 11, every property your father ever touched in this country that he thought nobody knew about. I've been writing them down since Tommy called. I can send them to your phone right now. Send them now. Done. The text came through a second later. 11 addresses. Marco scanned them. A warehouse in Patterson, a farmhouse upstate, a row house in South Philly, a marina in Annapolis, a body shop in Queens, a bakery in the Bronx, a self-storage facility in Wilmington, a lumber yard in Scranton, an apartment building on Staten Island, a hunting cabin in the Poconos, and the last one, a small house on a dead-end street in New Rochelle, 23 minutes from where Marco was sitting. Marco stopped on that line and stayed there. Uncle Salvatore. Yes, Marco. The New Rochelle house. Tell me about it. Your father bought it the year you turned 18. Cash. He never used it that I knew of, but he kept paying the taxes every year for 29 years, even after he died. He'd set up a trust to pay the taxes automatically so nobody would ever notice the house was still owned. I thought he was just paranoid. I thought I don't know what I thought. The year I turned 18. Yes. That's the year Antonio died, uncle. That's the year we buried him. A long, long silence on the line. Madonna mia. Uncle, I have to go. Marco, wait, do you want me to? Stay home, uncle, and pray. Pray hard. Marco hung up. He looked at Tommy. Tommy, New Rochelle, 7 minutes. 8, boss, with the traffic on the bridge. 7, run lights, kill anyone who gets in the way. Yes, boss. Take 6 men, not 5. 6. And Tommy. Yes. If my brother is in that house, if he is breathing, you do not fire a weapon inside that house. You do not put that man at risk. Do you understand me? Yes, boss. Go. Run. Tommy ran. Marco looked at his watch. 7 minutes, 50 seconds. He looked at his wife. Isabel. Yes, amore. Call your brother right now from your phone. Tell him to stand down. No. Isabel. Marco, if I call him and tell him to stand down with a gun to my head, he is smart enough to know it is a trick and shoot your brother twice instead of once. You do not know my brother. You do not get to negotiate with my brother through me. He doesn't love me that much. We are not that kind of family. Then what do you want, Isabel? A plane. What? A plane, amore. Private. Fueled at Teterboro. Ready to leave in 1 hour. I step onto it alive. I fly to a place I am not going to tell you. I land. I make a phone call. Your brother walks out of that house on his own 2 feet. That is the trade. And Sophia. Sophia Amore is an unfortunate loose end I will not pursue any further. I have my own life to get back to. I'm tired. Marco looked at her. He really looked at her. And for one strange, terrible moment, he saw the 7-year-old in the photograph again. The serious little mouth, the dark curls, the little girl whose whole family had been killed by his father in a room she was not in. And he understood something he did not want to understand. He understood that somewhere buried under all of this, there was a version of Isabel Mendoza who had not wanted this, who had been made to want it, raised into it, shaped into it over 20 years by a great uncle who had poured his own hate into her, the way she had poured thallium into a glass of milk. He understood it, and he did not for 1 second forgive it. Isabel. Yes. The plane is not happening. Then your brother dies, Marco. The plane is not happening because I have 2 brothers now, the one in New Rochelle and the one in my study. She blinked. What? Tommy Ricci has been closer to me than any blood brother for 20 years. He has raised my daughter like his own. He put on a suit at my first wedding, and he held me up at my first wife's funeral. I have more than one brother, Isabel. You, on the other hand, have one, and my men are very good at making calls. Her eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I'm saying that while you and I have been having this conversation, Tommy's people have been tracing the burner phone that sent you this afternoon's message. The one that asked, Listo para esta noche. Do you remember that message? Yes. It was sent from a cell tower in Mount Vernon, 20 minutes from here. My people have the exact tower. My people are at this exact moment pulling every car registered to every Mendoza cousin in a 3-state area. And unlike your great uncle, I don't need 20 years to find a man. I need about 40 minutes. You want to know why, Isabel? She did not answer. Because my father built a machine, Isabel. A real working machine full of men who owe the Benedetti name their lives. And you married into that machine, and you thought you were smarter than it. You thought you could walk into the middle of it with a bottle of wine and a lemon tart. And maybe you are smarter than it, Bella. Maybe you really are. But tonight, in the next 30 minutes, we are going to find out. Her jaw tightened, just a hair. First crack. Marco. Yes. My brother is not in Mount Vernon. I didn't say he was. I said the text was sent from Mount Vernon. Somebody pressed send. Somebody in that city in the last 4 hours sent a message to you. That person knows where your brother is parked tonight. That person is going to tell us. Her fingernails pressed into the wood of the table. Marco, if you push this, Isabel, I'm already pushing it. A silence, then very softly, almost to herself, she said, my cousin Luis. What? That's who sent the text, Luis. He's my cousin. He's 24. He's not like us. He's soft. He does errands. He drives. If your people get to him, he will break inside of 5 minutes. Then we get to him. And if he breaks before my brother gets to the call, my brother still shoots your brother on schedule. Then we have to get to your brother before the call gets to him. You don't know where my brother is. No, I don't, but your cousin Luis does. And your cousin Luis is about to have a very hard 40 minutes. Isabel closed her eyes. For the first time since she had walked through the door with a bottle of Barolo, her face actually changed. Not much. A flicker. But Marco saw it. She was afraid. Not of him, not of Tommy, of losing her brother. And Marco, who had spent the last hour discovering exactly how much he still loved a brother he had thought was dead, felt an ugly, unwelcome thing flicker inside his chest. Not sympathy, not pity, something worse. Recognition. Isabel. Yes. Call your brother right now. Don't tell him to stand down. Tell him you are safe. Tell him nothing has gone wrong. Tell him dinner ran late, but the dessert is on its way. Buy us time, 15 minutes. That's all I'm asking. And what do I get more? You get to watch me go find my brother. And if I find my brother alive, and your brother has not pulled the trigger, we talk about what happens next, for both of you. That's not much, Marco. It's more than you deserve, Isabel. She was quiet a long time. Then she nodded. Very small. Once. Give me the phone. Marco slid it across the table. She picked it up. She dialed. 2 rings. A man's voice answered in Spanish. Hard. Clipped. Hermana. She answered in Spanish too, but soft, smooth, the voice of a younger sister to an older brother. Marco didn't speak Spanish well, but he caught enough. Todo bien. Todo tranquilo. Retrasado. El postre llega pronto. 15 minutos. Espera. The man on the other end didn't like it. There was an argument. Short, sharp, fast. Marco watched Isabel's face. And then somewhere in the middle of the call, she stopped talking. She listened, and her face went white. It went white the way a person's face goes white when they hear a sentence they have not been prepared to hear in their entire adult life. She whispered something into the phone. 3 words. Marco couldn't catch them. The line went dead. Isabel set the phone down slowly as if it had suddenly become very heavy. Isabel. She did not answer. Isabel. What did he say? My brother. Yes. He says he's not waiting for a text, Marco. What? He's not waiting for a text. He never was. What are you talking about? My great-uncle, he changed the plan. 2 days ago, he didn't tell me. My brother has been sitting in that car, Marco with a gun on his lap, but he isn't waiting for my text to kill your brother. He's waiting for a different text. From my great-uncle. And my great-uncle, her voice was shaking now. She was actually shaking. My great-uncle sent that text 20 minutes ago. I was supposed to be the distraction, Marco. I was supposed to sit in this house and eat pastry with you and keep you here while it all happened. Marco was already moving. He was out of the chair, out of the dining room, down the hallway, his phone already in his hand and already dialing. Tommy. Boss, we're on the bridge. Tommy, drive faster, it's already happening. Right now, tell the boys to go in the second they get out of the car. Do not knock. Do not wait. Go in shooting anyone who isn't my brother. Do you hear me? Yes, boss. And Tommy, the man in the car outside, the brother, her brother, Luis's cousin. He's the first thing you take out. The first Tommy. Before you go in the house. He is sitting in a car waiting for a kill order that has already been given. You take him first. Yes, boss, we're off the bridge 4 minutes. 3, Tommy, you have 3. Marco hung up. He turned. Isabel was still sitting at the table. Her hands were now on her knees. Her shoulders were down. She looked for the first time since he had met her like exactly what she was, a woman who had been raised from the age of 7 to destroy someone else's family and who had just realized that the people who had raised her had been planning all along to destroy hers too. She looked up at him. Marco. What? If your brother dies tonight, he's not going to die. If he dies, He's not going to die, Isabel. Then I want you to know, this was not the plan I agreed to. My brother was supposed to walk out of that house tonight. That was my deal. That was the thing that kept me going. And they lied to me. They lied to me the same way your father lied to you. Marco did not answer. He couldn't, because somewhere 4 minutes away on a dead-end street in New Rochelle, Tommy Ricci's car was flying around a corner on 2 wheels, and a man in a parked car across the street was looking down at a text message that said one word in Spanish, ahora, now. And in a small room in a small house on that same dead-end street, a man named Antonio Benadetti, 43 years old, 17 years, a ghost sitting on the edge of a bed with a Bible open on his lap that he had read so many times the pages were soft, heard the back door of his little house open, and heard a footstep in the hallway that was not the footstep of the woman who brought him his meals, and he stood up very slowly and said out loud to a brother he had not seen since he was 26 years old, Marco, just the name, out loud, to no one, the way a man says a prayer. And on the street outside Tommy Ricci's car screamed around the corner, and the man in the parked car looked up from his phone with the pistol already in his hand, and in the front seat of Tommy's car, a 22-year-old Benedetti soldier named Danny Russo, a boy who had been taught to shoot by his father, who had been taught to shoot by Marco's father, leaned out the open window with a rifle braced against his shoulder and did exactly what he had been trained to do. The sound of the shot carried down the whole street, and the man inside the house, who had been walking down a narrow hallway toward a bedroom with a pistol in his hand, stopped in his tracks because he had heard that sound and he knew what it meant. And for the first time in 9 years of holding a job, he had been paid very, very well to hold. The man who was supposed to kill Antonio Benadetti hesitated. Just for 1 second, he hesitated. And 1 second was all Tommy Ricci needed. 1 second was all Tommy Ricci needed. He hit the front door of the little house with his shoulder at a full run, and the cheap wood frame split down the middle like it had been waiting 17 years to be broken. 2 of his men came in behind him. Danny Russo still on the porch, reloading, Frankie Colello sweeping left into the kitchen. Tommy went right down the hallway the killer had already started down. The killer was maybe 10 feet from the bedroom door when he heard the front frame give. He turned. He was fast. 9 years of waiting makes a man fast. But Tommy Ricci had been fast his whole life. 2 shots in the hallway, 1 from each gun, only 1 of them landed. Tommy stepped over the body without looking down and kicked the bedroom door open. A man was standing in the middle of the room with his hands up, a Bible on the floor at his feet. Gray at the temples, a scar on his jaw Tommy remembered from a summer on Long Beach Island 30 years ago. Thinner than he used to be, older but standing. Standing. Antonio, who are you? It's Tommy, boss, Tommy Ricci, from your father's house. You remember me. Marco's Tommy. Antonio Benadetti stared at him. For 1 long second, he did not move. Could not move. A man kept in a box for 9 years does not simply step out of it because someone opens the door. Then his knees buckled. Tommy caught him on the way down. He caught a grown man like he was catching a child, and Antonio's whole body folded against him, and Tommy felt something warm soak into his shirt and realized after a long second that it wasn't blood, it was tears. Antonio Benadetti was crying into the shoulder of a man he had not seen since he was 26 years old. And he was crying the way men cry exactly 1 time in their lives, and only when they have given up on ever crying again. Tommy, I got you, boss. I got you. Tommy, my brother. He's coming, boss. He's coming right now. I'm putting him on the phone. Tommy dialed with 1 hand, the other arm still holding Antonio up. In the dining room of the Benedetti house, Marco's phone rang. He grabbed it before the first ring was finished. Tommy, boss, I got him. Tommy, he's alive, boss. He's standing. He's here. He's right here. I'm putting him on. There was a shuffle, breathing, and then a voice rougher than Marco remembered, older, torn at the edges, but still unmistakably the voice of the brother he had watched them put into the ground 17 years ago. Marco Benedetti, who had not cried in the last 40 years for anything. Not for his first wife, not for his mother, not for his father, put 1 hand flat on the dining room table and the other hand up against his mouth, and he made a sound that had no word attached to it. Marco, are you there? I'm here, Antonio. I'm here. I'm here, brother. I'm here. Marco, I didn't know if I know, Antonio, I'm coming. Wait for me. Wait right there. Don't move. I'm coming right now. Okay. Antonio, yes. Say my name again. Marco. Again. Marco. One more time, brother. Marco. Marco closed his eyes. He pressed the phone against his forehead, and for 7 seconds, 7 whole seconds in the middle of the worst day of his life, he let himself believe that the world was not only made of poison and lies that a dead brother could get up off a hillside in Sicily and walk back into a phone call 17 years later, that a man could be given one gift in a lifetime that he did not earn and did not deserve and was too tired to refuse. Then he opened his eyes. He turned back to the dining room. Isabel Mendoza was still sitting in her chair, her hands on her knees, watching him. Not smiling now, just watching. Isabel. Yes, Marco. He's alive. I heard. Your brother. Is he alive too? I don't know yet. Tell me when you know. I will. A pause. Marco. Yes. I'm not going to run. I know you're not. I mean it. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to fight. Whatever you do with me, however this ends for me, I have earned it. I want you to know that I know that. Isabel. Yes, be quiet. For 1 minute, please. She was quiet. Marco put the phone back to his ear. Tommy. Yes, boss. The man in the car outside. Dead, boss. Danny got him on the first shot. Clean, through the windshield. Good, the one in the hallway. Dead. Any others in the house? A woman in the kitchen, boss, older, 50s. She's alive. She's got her hands up. She says she's been the cook for 9 years. She says she didn't know. She says she's been feeding him and talking to him, and she thought he was a man in witness protection. She's crying, boss. Bad. Bring her to me. Alive. Alive. I want to look at her myself. Yes, boss. And Tommy. Yes. My brother, is he hurt? No, boss. He's thin, he's pale, he's Marco. I don't want to say this on the phone. He's okay, but he's going to need a long time. He's going to need a very long time. Do you understand me? I understand. I'm bringing him home now. I'm home, Tommy. What? Not this house. Isabel knows this house. Take him to my mother's old place in Rye, the one nobody knows I still own. I'll meet you there in an hour. Yes, boss. Marco hung up. He stood still for 1 more second. 1 more second to feel his hand holding the phone and his feet on the floor and the blood still moving in his own body. Then he walked upstairs. Sophia was awake. Dr. Vega had her propped up on pillows in the little room behind the kitchen, and she was sipping very slowly from a small glass of water. She looked up when Marco came in. She smiled. She was still gray, still hollow-eyed, still thinner than an 8-year-old should ever be. But she smiled. Papa? Hi, baby. Dr. Vega says I'm going to be okay. I know, baby. He says I got to eat a lot of spinach. Is that so? And no more white medicine from Mama. Marco's jaw tightened. He sat on the edge of the bed very gently, and he took her small hand in his. Baby. Yeah, Papa. I have to tell you something, and I have to tell you in a way a grown-up tells it because you are smarter than most grown-ups. Okay. Okay. Mama isn't going to be living in our house anymore. Sophia looked at him. Because of the white medicine. Yes, baby. Because it wasn't medicine. No, baby, it wasn't. A long pause. Papa. Yes, my love. I knew. Marco felt his chest lock up. What? I knew it was making me worse. I could tell. Every time she gave it to me, I felt worse. And one time I didn't drink it. I poured it in the plant next to my bed. And the plant died, Papa. It died the next day. So I knew. Baby, why didn't you tell me? Sophia's lower lip trembled. She looked down at her hands. Because she said if I told you, you would be sad. She said you loved her. And she said if I made you sad, you would love me less. Marco Benadeti, the most feared man in 3 cities, put his face into his daughter's tiny shoulder, and he held her, and for the second time in 1 hour, tears came out of him, and he did not stop them. Baby, he said, baby, listen. Listen to Papa. I could never love you less. Do you understand me? Never, not in a million years, not if the whole world told me to. You are my heart. You are the whole thing, all of it. Do you understand me? She nodded into his shoulder and she cried too, quietly, the way a child cries when she has been holding a secret longer than her small body knows how to hold. He held her a long time. Then Dr. Vega cleared his throat very softly from the doorway. Mr. Benedetti. Yes. She needs to rest, truly. Her body has been through a war. 1 minute more, doctor. 1 minute. Marco kissed the top of his daughter's head. He smelled her hair, which still smelled under the hospital soap Dr. Vega had used like the lavender shampoo Maria had washed it with that morning. He pulled back. Papa's going to see Uncle Antonio now. Uncle Antonio, a brother of mine, baby. You never got to meet him. You're going to meet him tomorrow, and you're going to love him. And he is going to love you more than anybody in the world except me. Okay. I love you, Sophia. I love you, Papa. He went back down the stairs. Isabel had not moved. Stand up, Isabel. She stood up. Turn around. Hands behind your back. She turned around. Frankie Colello, who had come back from New Rochelle with Tommy, stepped forward with a pair of plastic ties. He bound her wrists. She did not resist. She did not say a word. Marco walked around to face her. Isabel. Yes, your brother is alive. Her whole body went slack for a half second, as if her spine had been cut. She caught herself. Her eyes closed. A tear came out. Just one. Down one cheek. Thank you. Don't thank me. Marco. Your great-uncle Isabel. Yes. The one who raised you, who told you what I looked like, who told you how to spill a glass of champagne and how to laugh and how to kiss a man you wanted dead. Yes. Where is Eva? Caracas. You're going to tell me everything you know about him, every man in his house, every bank, every phone number, every way into his life. Yes. And Isabel. Yes. When I am done with you after you have told me all of it, you are not going to be killed. Her head came up, slowly. What? You are not going to be killed. Marco, listen to me. I have thought about this for 20 minutes, and I have decided you are going to live. You are going to live a long, long time because I am a man whose father killed your entire family in one night. And if I kill you tonight, I become my father. And my daughter upstairs is not going to grow up in a house where her father is that kind of man. Do you understand me? Isabel's eyes were wet, really wet now. Something inside her had finally come loose. Then what happens to me? You are going to be taken to a place. It is a place my family has used for a long time for people we cannot kill and cannot set free. It is not a pleasant place, but you will be alive. You will have books, you will have food, you will not have phones, you will not have visitors, you will not have a name, and you will stay there, Isabel, until I die. And when I die, whoever takes my chair will decide what happens to you next. That is the deal. She looked at him for a long, long time. Marco, what? That is crueler than a bullet. Yes. You know that. Yes, Isabel, I know that. She let out a sound that was almost a laugh, almost. Your father would be very disappointed in you tonight, amore. I know, Bella. It suits you. He did not answer her. Frankie walked her out through the back. She did not look back. She did not cry. She walked the way she had walked into the Pierre Hotel 3 years ago, chin up, shoulders back, as if the whole world was something she was simply passing through. The back door closed behind her, and Marco Benedetti stood alone in his dining room for the first time in 3 years as a single man. He stood there for a minute, maybe two. Then he got his coat picked up, the white paper bag with the lemon tart in it still sitting on the sideboard. Untouched, walked outside to the garden, put it in the fire pit, poured lighter fluid on it, and burned it to ash. He stood there watching it burn until there was nothing left but a dark smear at the bottom of the pit. Then he got in his car and he drove to Rye. Antonio was sitting on a couch in Marco's mother's old living room when Marco walked in. Tommy was sitting beside him, and Dr. Vega, who had followed in a second car from the main house after finishing with Sophia, was kneeling in front of him, taking his blood pressure. Antonio looked up. Two brothers separated for 17 years stared at each other across the length of a living room. Neither of them moved for a long time. Then Antonio tried to stand up and his legs didn't work, and Marco crossed the room in 4 long strides and got to him before he fell. And the two of them held each other the way brothers are supposed to hold each other and almost never do. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing to say. Everything that needed to be said had been said 17 years ago, standing next to an open coffin in a village outside Palermo, and the saying of it had turned out to be a lie. And so now the only language left between them was the language of two men holding on to each other so they wouldn't fall down. When they finally pulled back, Marco looked at his brother's face for a long time. I'm on. Antonio. Marco. How? Papa. I know, Uncle Salvatore told me some of it. He didn't want me to die, Marco. He couldn't let me live. Not in the life. He said I was too soft. He said the life would eat me. And so he made a funeral. He put someone else in my coffin. He put me in a house in New Rochelle with a cook and a television and a stack of Bibles. And he said one day when things were safe, he would come back for me. And then he died. And nobody else knew where I was. Antonio. Yes. I am so sorry. Marco, it wasn't you. I should have looked harder. Marco, stop. Listen, I read the Bible a lot in that house for 9 years. And one thing I learned is that a man cannot carry what was not his to carry. Papa did this, not you. Papa did this to both of us. And Papa is gone. And we are not. Marco swallowed hard. Brother. Yes. I have a daughter. Antonio smiled, a small tired smile, full of teeth that had not been properly cared for in 9 years, but a smile. Tommy told me, Sophia, 8 years old. Yes. And she just had a very bad day. Yes. When can I meet her? Tomorrow, first thing. Good. Brother. Yes. She's going to ask you a lot of questions. She's going to ask you where you've been. She's going to ask you why her father never talked about you. She's 8. She doesn't stop. Antonio laughed. It was a rough laugh, a laugh that needed practice, but it was real. Marco, I have had 9 years of silence. I am looking forward to the questions. They stayed up most of the night. Tommy brought food, soup at first because Dr. Vega said Antonio's stomach had to learn how to eat again. Then later bread. Then even later a small plate of pasta with butter because Antonio had asked for it, whispered it the way a man whispers the name of a woman he has loved a long time. They talked about their father, about their mother, about the summer their mother had taken them to Capri when Marco was 9 and Antonio was 11, and Antonio had fallen off a seawall and broken his wrist, and their father had gotten so scared he had cried right there in front of them, a thing neither boy had ever seen before, and neither boy had ever seen again. They talked about things that didn't matter and things that mattered too much. And around 3 in the morning, Antonio fell asleep on the couch with a blanket pulled up to his chin, and Marco sat in the armchair across from him and did not sleep because he did not yet trust the world enough to close his eyes in a room his brother was breathing in. Toward dawn, his phone buzzed, a text from Tommy. Boss, she's settled in the place. Quiet, didn't say a word the whole ride. She asked me one thing before I left. What? She asked if you would tell your daughter her real name someday, or if you would let her grow up thinking Isabella was a woman named Isabella. Marco stared at the message. He thought for a long time. Then he typed back, tell her I will tell Sophia the truth. All of it. When Sophia is old enough to carry it. Yes, boss. Tommy. Yes. Thank you. For tonight. For my brother. For my daughter. For everything. Boss, I would do it all again tomorrow. Marco put the phone down. Dawn came up slow over the trees outside the window. The light reached the floor first, then the rug, then the edge of the couch, then finally the blanket over his brother's chest. Antonio slept on. A long time later, Marco never knew exactly how long he heard small footsteps at the top of the stairs, then coming down. Slow, careful barefoot on wood. Sophia appeared in the doorway in her pajamas, dragging the blanket from her bed, her dark curls wild from sleep. Her cheeks just a little pinker than they had been the night before. She stopped in the doorway. She looked at the sleeping man on the couch. She looked at her father. She looked at the sleeping man again. Papa. Yes, baby. Is that Uncle Antonio? Yes, baby, that's Uncle Antonio. She walked across the room very quietly. She climbed up onto the couch. She tucked her blanket over her uncle's blanket so that there were now 2 layers over him. She curled up in the small space beside his shoulder and put her cheek against his arm. Antonio woke up. He did not move. He did not flinch. He just looked down at the tiny dark head tucked against his arm and his eyes filled up. "Hi," he whispered. "Hi," Sophia whispered back. "I'm your Uncle Antonio." "I know. It's nice to meet you. I had a dream about butterflies." "Did you?" "Hundreds of them, in a big jar, and I opened the jar, and they all flew away." Antonio looked across the room at his brother. Marco, with tears running down his face, and not a single thing in the world left to say, nodded. "That," Antonio whispered to the little girl against his shoulder, "is the best dream anybody ever had, sweetheart. That is the best dream in the world." And for the first time in 9 years, Antonio Benadetti closed his eyes in a room he had chosen to be in, beside people whose names he knew, and went back to sleep. The poison was gone from the house. The liar was gone from the table. The brother was home. The daughter was breathing. And Marco Benadetti, who had walked into that dining room the afternoon before as a man who thought he knew exactly what his life was, sat in the armchair watching his brother and his daughter sleep under 2 blankets in the first honest light of morning, and understood finally fully, without any of the noise that had kept him from understanding it for 47 years, that family is not the name you are born with. Family is the people you are willing to wipe the floor for. Family is the people whose breath you count when they sleep. Family is what you walk into a dining room to protect, even when the woman across the table is the woman you married, and the gun at your back is the only honest thing left in the room. Marco Benadetti had lost a wife that night, and he had found in her place a brother, a daughter, a truth, and a second chance. And for a man who had spent his entire life believing that the Benadetti name was a weapon that was more than he had ever dared to hope he deserved, he understood now enough. It was more than enough. It was everything.